No, good day once again. Welcome to another topic for our subject system administration, in which the topic for this video is all about firewall. Hello once again. Welcome to another topic for our subject system administration, and the topic for this video is all about firewall. So in our houses or our homes, there are firewalls. Could be on the sides of our homes. Firewalls are set up so that if ever there will be fires on neighbors or our houses beside beside our homes, literally the fire will not go over our homes. Okay, so that is the main purpose of firewalls. If we equate that firewall into networking, into the computer world, this is how it works. So our firewall or our H1 or house one is our network, our own local network, our company's network, the school network, for example. It is essentially protected by the firewall. All data, all information that is inside of the local area network or the network of our company, the network of our school is protected by this firewall. The data, the information is essentially protected from the H2 or the fire. Let's say, for example, the internet, or it can also mean from other networks. Okay, so our H1 on the left side is our trusted network. All data or information revolving, rotating around this network is trusted. Okay, while the data from the internet, data from other networks are not to be trusted. So all data, all information are filtered by this firewall. Before data from the internet reaches our trusted network, this one, it will still need to pass through the institution or the company's firewall before it can reach the receiver. Okay, so the purpose of this firewall is it will filter. The firewall is a network security system that monitors and controls all network traffic. The keyword here is all. Okay, so all network traffic will be filtered by a firewall. So firewalls have rules. Okay. These firewall rules are implemented or applied in both incoming and outgoing network connections. Okay, so let's say from our previous example, the data from the internet, data comes from the internet and then going to our trusted network. So the firewall here filters the incoming connection. So the firewall builds a flexible barrier depending on the level of trust of a given connection. So let's say you have another untrusted network. Let's call this H3. Okay, it's somewhat called an untrusted network. But here in your firewall, there is a rule that all connection, all incoming connection, all incoming data, all incoming information from H3 will be allowed. Okay, so once again, You have stated in your firewall that there that that created a rule that all data, all information from H3 will be allowed inside to your trusted network. Okay, so that is an example of a rule, firewall rule. So in Linux, there are three commonly used firewall. This is the IP tables, firewall-cmd, and UFW. These are low-level tools from the command line, the CLI, in which you have to manually configure using your keyboard only and the screen. So there is a editing of configuration files in the etc directory. If you are not used to CLI based configuration, but I know you're already expert in CLI configuration, you can use GUI based firewalls like this one for system config firewall, firewall config, GUFW, and YAST. But in this subject, we will be using this one, UFW. What are the reasons for using these low-level tools? They will change less often than the graphical ones, and that is the truth. Let's say a Windows 10 graphical user interface is different from the Windows 11 graphical user interface. Low-level tools have a larger set of capabilities, and these low-level tools tend to be quite different. Okay, there might be configuration in which the low-level tools can only configure, while the GUI based tool firewall cannot do it by itself. So there's only one disadvantage of using this low-level tool, and that is difficult to learn at first. Okay, but the keyword here is at first. Keywords, I mean. So everyone will find it difficult, but at first only. But if you practice and practice and practice, then no one will be left behind. Everything will be easy for you. So we will be using UFW, and this is the default firewall configuration tool for Ubuntu. We are using Ubuntu server, and this is the default configuration for its firewall. This was developed to ease IP tables firewall configuration because, for example, if you issue a three-letter, three-word command for UFW in IP tables, that three-word command is equivalent sometimes to 10, more than 10, 15-word command. So UFW was developed to further lessen the burden for the firewall configuration. And then by default, UFW is disabled. Upon installation or upon finishing the installation of an Ubuntu device, Linux device, UFW is not enabled. So to turn on UFW, we have this command, sudo UFW space E enable. That's it. After we enable our UFW by issuing sudo UFW slash enable, we need to check first the status if it is already enabled or not. So you use this command, sudo space UFW space status space verbose. This will be the output of this command, and it shows some basic configuration that was implemented after enabling UFW. to disable UFW, you just issue this command, sudo UFW space disable. So let's say you want remote access from one server to another server. Okay, so if you want remote access, that is, it could be SSH, which uses the port 22, TCP port 22. In UFW, you could issue this command sudo UFW allow 22. You could also specify allowing only port 22 for TCP or allowing port 22 for UDP. Okay, so let's now open our virtual machines. So here on the left side is my virtual machine number 1, which has an IP address of 56.109, and on the right side another virtual machine which has an IP address of 56.110. If I will do this command ssh johnbert at 192.168.56.109, say yes, then the password. So I'm basically connected to this virtual machine on the right side. Okay, so let's say I want to write a file, touch firewall.txt, and then this text is from 192.168.56.110. Let's save this file. Then if we go back here on the left side, we should see a name or a file named firewall.txt. There you go. So if we want to display what is the content of firewall.txt, this is what we have written a while ago. So let's say we will enable, let's just log out first from the VM number 1, and then enable our firewall here on VM number 1. Sudo UFW status verbose. Okay, it's already enabled. Now let's add UFW allow 22. Okay, so if we do again sudo UFW status, we have a specific rule wherein we allow port 22 from anywhere. Okay, so from anywhere, any IP address, as long as it is connecting to port 22, we allow it. Okay, so we'll test here. SSH username, and then the IP address of the remote device, which is 56.109, and then it will ask for a password. Okay, so we are now connected to the remote machine, which is the VM number 1 on the left side. Okay, let's now disconnect. And it shows that this is the IP address of VM number 2. So let's say I want to disable or want to deny the connection from port 22 of the IP address 192.168.56.109. So we will do this. UFW, it's here. Okay, we deny deny 22. If we do UFW status, it's already denied. And let's try to connect again to the left virtual machine. And it's doing nothing anymore. It's doing nothing. It's doing nothing. It's doing nothing. Okay, let's cancel this. Let's change this to allow port 22. Check the status. It's already allowed. And then we do SSH. It asks for a password immediately. And we are already inside. Edited. We are now inside of the virtual machine number 1. So if you want to delete an existing rule, you just simply add the prefix to the original rule. For example, if this is the original rule that we entered a while ago, you just add the word delete. Okay, just add the word delete. This was our previous command, sudo ufw delete allow 22. And now let's check the status of UFW. It's active, but it has no rules already. Okay. If you want to delete specific rules, you could use this command sudo ufw status numbered, and then delete it using the number of the line that you want to delete. So for example, here on this example, it wants to delete the first rule. So let's say UFW allow 22, 80. Okay, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4 rules. So if you want status numbered to delete a specific rule, let's say we want to delete rule number 3 only. Okay, so sudo ufw delete 3. Yes. And then sudo ufw status, it's this rule is already deleted. Okay. We can also allow a service use. You can also allow or deny by service name. Let's say port 22 is equivalent to the word SSH. Okay. So instead of using sudo ufw allow 22, sudo ufw allow 22, we can use this one, sudo ufw allow SSH, which is equivalent to sudo ufw allow 22. This is just to check your UFW status. We could allow or deny by specific IP addresses. Say for example, I want to allow only to, to access my port 22 or SSH from this IP address. Okay, so we can do this. sudo u, sudo ufw allow from 192.168.56.110. Okay, so sudo ufw status. So there is a specific IP address in which it can it has access to any service from this virtual machine. We could also use a net mask. So all IP address from the network range 192.168.1.0 from 1 to 254 is allowed or denied to this specific machine. You could also use allow or deny by specific port and IP address. Okay, so let's say you want to only allow from this IP address to this port only. So this is SSH. And the result of this is if the connection comes from this IP address, then it is only allowed to access port 22, which is SSH. If you want to disable ping, like you don't want someone else network device or device to ping your servers, you could also disable it entirely. So you just edit this file, look for these lines of code, and then change accept to drop. With these settings, your device will no longer be pingable. Okay, it cannot be ping anymore. It may display network unreachable, destination is unreachable. Okay, so if you want to check for the logs of your UFW, you can find it, you can access it in this specific file, in this directory. Okay, you just add sudo here to access the UFW logs. Okay, so for further questions, you can message me, you can reach me out to my messenger, or you can ask me a query during our lecture time. So thank you and have a nice day. Goodbye.